This is the American Roundtable on Tough TV and Tough TV 38. I'm Al Spry.
And I'm Drea Doll.
So glad to have you back, Drea. How have you been?
I've been good.
We've missed you on the show, you know.
I bet. Thank you.
Well, we are gearing for a great American Roundtable show on Tough TV and Tough TV 3080, including but not limited to talking about transgenders in the military. What is the fallout from the president's decision? We'll tell you what it is and how it can affect people in the military that are already in. Also, we're going to have author Al Harris. He wrote a book about women breaking through bias. This is going to be a good one, talking about women, giving them advice on how to break through that glass ceiling. Also, talking about Rick Perry. What happened with Rick Perry, Drea Doll? Briefly.
He got punked.
He got punked. We'll talk about how he got punked and who punked him right after this in the American Roundtable on Tough TV. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. I'm Al Spry. Drea Doll, great to have you here.
Thank you.
We're talking about transgenders. That is a new topic right here. Transgenders in the military, to be exact. Been some changes. President Trump deciding and announcing that transgender people are no longer welcome in the United States military to serve in any capacity. In a series of tweets, he said the military cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs and disruption that transgender in the military would entail. Of course, they used to say the same thing about gay people. I think it's a cop-out, personally. What are your thoughts?
How do they bring this stuff up? Why is it even an issue?
Because
why they care.
Well, it's, you know, this is the first 6 months of Trump's, obviously, of his administration. He's making changes to the Obama administration, and one of these is no more transgenders. Why do you think it matters whether transgenders are not served? I mean, what does it matter?
I don't understand why they care at all. No.
Well, obviously, it's very important to the president that transgender people not be in the military. He said, quote, he made the decision after consulting with my generals and military experts. Of course, if you remember, a few years ago, they said the same thing about gay people. Do you see much? There's really not much of a difference here, I wouldn't think, to be honest.
I just don't see the issue at all with it. If they want to fight for our country, they should.
I agree. The move reverses a decision made under former President Obama in 2016, though the Pentagon had delayed implementing the order to assess the impact on the military. This story coming from NPR, they note that a RAND study estimated about 4,000 transgender people already serve in the military and reserves, and it's unclear what the president's decision might mean for them. So let's talk about this. What happens to the people that are already in the military? You got 4,000 people in the military that are already serving, and they're transgender people. What do you do with them?
Well, if that 4,000 people haven't been a problem, what does it matter?
But now they're not going to be allowed to serve. They will actually have to be discharged. Yeah, they will have to be discharged.
If we're expanding our military, we need these people.
We need these people. I agree. I think that this is a very silly idea. I think what Trump is doing, he's pandering to the right, and he's pandering to people that are basically anti-gay and anti-transgender, and he's basically saying that, well, I'm going to take a hard line on this. I think it's very silly. I think it doesn't sound like the Donald Trump that a lot of people voted for, and I think he's going to lose big in this. What do you think the implications are for Trump?
I think exactly the same, that it's not going to look good, because I know I voted for him and I don't care about this. Anyone that wants to be in the military, thank you.
That's it. That's what you hear from Drea Doll. Coming up, we have a guy named Al Harris. Al Harris wrote a book with Andrea Kramer. The name of the book is Breaking Through Bias. It's basically a way to show women how to avoid gender bias in the workplace and get every penny that they're worth. So we're very happy to have him on. And this is the American Roundtable on Tough TV. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. So happy to have our guest in. He wrote this book right here. This is Al Harris, Breaking Through Bias. Al Harris, thank you so much for coming on the American Roundtable.
It's my pleasure. It's nice to be with you.
Well, it's very good to have you. Very happy to talk about this issue. We don't normally get to talk about it much, and we happen to have the wonderful Drea Doll co-hosting American Roundtable. Drea, would you like to ask Al the first question? No?
No.
Okay. I'll ask you the first question, then she'll follow up. We do this all the time. It's like a married couple. But anyway, my question to you is, why this book and why at this time?
Well, Let me answer those in reverse order. Why at this time? One, women made enormous progress in entering traditionally male fields in the late 60s, 70s, 80s, and to the mid 90s. So that we have about 56% of all women now in the workplace, and many of them on career trajectories. But what we found is that after about 1995, women's upward progress has stalled. We haven't had any more women CEOs of Fortune 500 companies since the late 90s. We don't have any more women on corporate boards since about that time. We don't have women on the C-suite. We don't have women equity partners in numbers that are greater than where they were. So why now? Because as far as Andy, that's my co-author and wife, and I are concerned, it's time that women took things into their own hands and did something about their being stalled. As to why this book, because we think that women are getting all sorts of conflicting advice, that they need to be different than they are, that they need to act more like men, that they need to be more assertive. Well, we think women are just fine the way they are. But what we think they need to do is understand the stereotypes and biases that are in fact operating in ways that are holding them back. And this book is an attempt to explain those stereotypes and biases to them and to give them a whole series of communication techniques to avoid or overcome them.
Trey, what do you think of that? Do you agree with our author here on that?
I think it's good for women who maybe need this. You know, in my experience, I haven't really felt this yet at a workplace, even though I guess because these other women did the work for me. So I've worked in predominantly male environments, and I've been okay. I've liked it. It's been worked out well. So
I'm sorry, but I can't hear her.
Oh, all right. But Drea was basically saying that she hasn't personally dealt with this in the industry that she's at, but you know, that she understands that it does happen. My follow up to you is what are some of the bias that you're seeing that you are writing in for people to know?
Well, the biases essentially are that women are expected to be their stereotypical behavior is supposed to be pleasant, kind, mild, modest, relationship oriented. But when women conform to those stereotypes, when women behave in that way, they're generally liked, but they aren't recognized as leaders. They're typically ignored. On the other hand, when women behave in more, let's call it masculine ways, when they are decisive, forceful, aggressive, and take a stand and give, directions and try to take charge, then they are viewed as possibly competent, but very generally not liked. We know that as women move up the corporate hierarchy, they are increasingly disliked, whereas when men move up, they're increasingly liked. So women often feel that they're in a double bind, what we call the Goldilocks dilemma. They are damned if they are like women are supposed to be, and they're doomed if they break that stereotypical mold.
All right, Al Harris, breaking through bias right here on the American Roundtable. More in a moment. And well, we're talking with Al Harris right here on American Roundtable, and Al Harris wrote a book called Breaking Through Bias. Tell us about your co-host, Al. I mean, your co-writer, I should say.
Well, the co-writer is Andrea S. Kramer, or Andy, A-N-D-I-E, who is a terrific women's advocate and who happens to be my wife and the mother of our child.
Okay, well, there you go, serving quite a few roles. And did you enjoy writing the book together?
Yes, very much so. We've always written together. We were law partners for probably 15 years before Andy moved on to a much larger career. But over the course of our professional lives, we've written over 60 articles together.
So wait a minute, she left working with you.
Yeah, she did. She did.
So why'd you do that? Was it too much together time, or this was just an opportunity she couldn't avoid?
There was an opportunity that was too big to turn down.
All right. Well, what's she doing?
She's still practicing law. She's with a. At the time she was my law partner, we were in a law firm of about 120 lawyers, and she moved to a law firm with about 1,500 lawyers.
Oh wow!
And
it's
an
a lot
international reach, which she needed for her practice, and we couldn't provide to her.
Oh, sure.
So it was a quite harmonious departure, and had nothing to do with our personal relationship.
Well, that's good, because you're married. You gotta make it work, I guess.
Absolutely.
What do you think would be some ways to, like your book was saying, for a woman who's in the workplace, who's facing this bias? What are some techniques that she could use to overcome?
Well, I mentioned in the earlier segment that women often think that they are in a double bind, that they can't win whether they play to the feminine side or the masculine side. And a lot of our techniques are to get women to recognize that they've got to play to both sides simultaneously, that they must show the leadership style that are typically grouped under stereotypes that are called agentic, or those that are associated with agents and that are associated as well with being men. So they have to act that way if they're going to get ahead. On the other hand, they have to soften that approach. They have to find techniques that will present themselves as inclusive, welcoming, interested in other people, and very focused on relationships. So that the techniques we talk about have a lot to do with playing both sides of the stereotype game, being both hot and cold, dialing it up, dialing it down as the relationship and the situation call for.
What are your thoughts on that, Drea Doll?
That sounds interesting. It sounds like a good idea.
Like doing both, being tough but still feminine, I guess. Is that what you're trying to say, Al? Like, kind of when you say play both sides.
Let me give you sort of a concrete example. We talk about both nonverbal communication skills and verbal communication skills. Nonverbal would be such things as standing tall, gesturing away from your body, sitting and taking up your proper share of space. Women often close themselves in meetings. The men will spread out and the women will close in. They will shrink. So what we recommend always is that your nonverbal behavior always needs to be agentic. It always needs to be forceful, and your presence needs to be felt. That's what people recognize and see. On the other hand, your verbal communication, what you say, can often be softened, can often be made to be inclusive and gentle without appearing to be aggressive verbally, but appearing to be strong nonverbally.
All right, Al, let's talk a little bit more about this as we wrap things up. This is Al Harris. Great book called Breaking Through Bias, available at Amazon and other fine booksellers. This is the American Roundtable. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. I'm so happy to have our guest. His name is Al Harris, and he wrote a book called Breaking Through Bias, some great advice for women. Drea Doll, you said that you currently don't really have a lot of this. You don't see a lot of this bias in what industry are you in when you're not doing American Roundtable?
And all different ones, but I feel like I exercise some of the skills he was talking about. So it's a good idea.
You mean about the playing both sides?
Definitely.
Yeah, continue with your thought on that, Al.
Well, we call it impression management.
Impression management, I like that.
Impression management, yes. That Men naturally adjust their behavior to the group that they're in. They can be uh, humorous or aggressive or uh, uh, listening. They do that very naturally. As young boys, they've been taught that if they're going to be picked for the T-ball team, they're going to have to suck up to the guy who's doing the picking, and so they adjust their behavior so that they appear to be pleasing to those around them. Women, on the other hand, often are very resistant to that notion, very resistant to the notion of adjusting the way they behave, because they feel that they need to be authentic. And if there's one word that I think is holding women back right at the moment, it is their desire to be authentic and not really understanding what authentic is. There is no one way that we are. We aren't one sort of person always and forever. When we go to the beach, we dress differently than we dress when we go to a formal event. And similarly, when we're in business settings, they often call for us to be different sorts of people, sometimes aggressive, sometimes gentle. And we try to teach women, show women how they can put on different aspects, not of someone else, not of being a phony, but of themselves, so that they can appear to be effective in the situation that they're in.
Excellent advice, Al. Al Harris, the time went by way too fast. Thank you so much. Check out his book, Breaking Through Bias. Breaking Through Bias. Al Harris, thank you, and we really appreciate having you on the American Roundtable.
Well, it was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
And what is your website?
Website is Andy, A-N-D-I-E, and Al, all one word, .com.
All right, from one Al to another, it's great having you. This is the American Roundtable on Tough TV and Tough TV 38. Welcome back to the American Roundtable on Tough TV and Tough TV 38. As you know, Drea Doll, this is no holds barred television. Am I right?
It is.
Now, we like fun stories, too.
I like this one.
Why don't you tell us about Rick Perry?
Apparently he was punked for quite a long time by Russians.
So, like, how long are we talking about this punkage?
Like a half hour, 22 minutes.
Holy cow! What's the scoop? They get him on the phone or something?
Yeah, I guess they called and they were discussing some new biofuel.
Yeah, this biofuel. I guess it was the Jerky Boys of Russia. They're known as. These guys do prank phone calls, and so this guy in Russian, like the fact that the guy's voice was in Russian, that didn't throw Rick Perry off. I guess not. He was talking about this new biofuel made from pig manure and homebrewed alcohol that he wanted to promote. And of course, it wasn't Ukrainian Prime Minister Volodymyr Grossman. All right, it wasn't that guy. You know who it was? It was the Jerky Boys. So what do you think? You think that knowing this now about Rick Perry, you're glad he didn't become president of the United States?
Yeah, but I still think it's funny no matter who it was.
Well, of course it is. But it's funny because it was a guy who came very close to the most powerful office in the world.
Yeah, but isn't he and what Exxon guy, didn't he? So biofuel, I can see how it happened. All Russians sound the same.
Yeah, but from pig crap? You can't get biofuel from
pig
crap
corn,
and homebrewed alcohol. Right there, that should give it away.
But don't they eat corn?
Sure they eat corn.
Okay, corn can give you biofuel. How do you know you?
But who's going to run a biofuel that smells from pig manure?
Nobody's dropped off some corn after you ate it. It could happen.
Nobody's going to do this. Anyway, Energy Department spokesman Shaylin Hines confirmed that Perry had been pranked by the duo. These individuals are known for pranking high-level officials and celebrities, particularly those who are supportive of an agenda that is not in line with their governments. In this case, the energy security of the Ukraine. Of course, the Washington Post reporting the pranksters took advantage of timing to fool Perry, arranging the call 3 weeks after Perry hosted Groisman and other Ukrainians at the Department of Energy. So even though he just met the guy, talked with him, he still didn't know what he sounded like. He got punked by really bad amateurs. So Rick Perry, I guess that's how it goes. Well, that just does it for a whole week of fun. We've spent our 30 minutes, Drea Doll, and I've learned some stuff. Have you learned some stuff?
Definitely.
This is great. This is Tough TV on Tough TV's American Roundtable and Tough TV 38. So I want to thank you again for joining us. Remember to keep it real.
Keep it tough.